This week on the Steel Report.
Really, it should be about getting the funding where you need it and getting the funding to the training the officers do need. So I don't believe in defunding the police.
Meet the new Cedar Falls Police Chief. Plus,
these conversations are necessary to move our community forward, but they're complex and sometimes people don't know where to start.
It's a community-wide anti-racism effort. And also the return of Big Ten football. And our program begins right now.
Now from KWWL, this is the Steel Report.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Steel Report. You know, you've met the new Waterloo Police Chief already on this program, and today you're going to hear directly from the new Cedar Falls Police Chief, Craig Berte. We'll also tell you about a brand new community-wide anti-racism effort which is going to get underway on October 1st, and how you are being asked to get personally involved simply by reading a book. And then we're going to hear from Sports Director Rick Coleman on Big Ten football. But right now, let's begin with new Cedar Falls Police Chief, Craig Berte. So, Chief, we are social distancing here. Got my mask, and so everybody knows that we're more than 6 feet apart, so we're following the new mandate in the city of Cedar Falls. We don't want to break that. So we're here to talk a little bit about your career because you worked your way up. I mean, you've been on the department a long time, and now you're the police chief for Cedar Falls. I'm wondering what that feels like, and what was that like when you got the news?
Well, I'm sure, I'm honored to be the police chief. I'm honored to, serve this community and serve the officers of the Cedar Falls Police Department. I've been here just shy of 30 years, worked all patrol shifts, been in the investigative unit as an investigator and then again as the detective captain, and I've worked administrative roles, so I'm excited to be the chief, excited to have the opportunity. It
was always a goal for you too, you told me one time. You wanted to be chief, and it took a while, but that's the way it should be.
Absolutely, and there's, any sheriff's department or police department, there's plenty of quality people that could be the chief, but, that funnel gets pretty tight at the top and only one person can do it at a time. So a lot of people are qualified to do it, but only a few get the opportunity.
I want to talk just real briefly about your family. We have this great photograph we're looking at right now. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Sure. Well, I hope they're proud. I hope they don't get in trouble and embarrass me. But my wife Molly and I have 5 children. Their ages 10 to 21, and they're all here in the Cedar Valley between you and I and Hawkeye Community College and the high school and junior high and an elementary school. So we're good customers for the Cedar Falls public school system.
And you spent 27 years, a lot of people don't know, 27 years in the United States military. Tell us a little bit about your deployments too.
Well, I was in the regular Army for 3 years as an MP, and that's how I got a taste for policing. So I spent 3 years in Texas. I came back to Iowa, wanted to be a police officer, got hired in Cedar Falls. But then I continued serving I was in a total of 27 years, always in the Iowa National Guard or the Army Reserve, and I served as a first sergeant for 5 years. I served as a sergeant major my last 10 years, which I would say is the best job in the Army. I have 2 one-year deployments, and in 2010 I deployed with over 3,000 soldiers. We went to Afghanistan for a year, and retired a few years after that in 2012.
And you have a Bronze Star too. They don't just hand those out every day,
No, I was awarded a Bronze Star. I'm very proud of that, and like I said, we had a successful mission. I went with the Red Bulls of Iowa, and the Red Bulls are deployed again right now, all over.
Yeah, they're the Iron Man battalion for a good reason.
Absolutely.
They've probably had more deployments than anybody. I mean, across the whole country too. Yeah.
They do. The history of the Red Bull Division going all the way back to World War I is impressive, and World War II it's extremely impressive, and then continuing in all the wars. So I'm very proud to have that combat badge.
So across the city, the controversy has been the last few years, the Public Safety Officer Program. Tell everyone, you yourself, you've already been trained, cross-trained, and this didn't happen yesterday, did it? It goes back several years. Yeah.
Yes, I was part of an early crew. It was in 2005, so 15 years ago I got cross-trained as a firefighter, and at that time it was city employees from all city departments, not just fire and police, but would train to be either reserve police officers or be part-time firefighters to help supplement both the police and the fire department.
And you think this program is right for Cedar Falls, you told me once.
Absolutely. I totally believe in the program. I think it's the best for our community. We deliver quality fire and police services to the citizens, and it's also efficient in terms of what it costs us in terms of tax dollars that the people are paying.
Now you answer to a former police chief here in Cedar Falls, and that's the Director of Public Safety now, Jeff Olson. So that's a lot of experience that you have. How would you describe the overall mission right now, given the climate around the country of the Cedar Falls PD?
Well, I think it's going very well. One thing, we have tremendous community support here in Cedar Falls. That probably can't be said, for all departments across the nation. So we've always enjoyed a lot of community support. We have a steady stream of people coming out here back in the blue and supporting our officers. So it's going well, but it's also it's tough on the officers. We have to make sure the officers know that they've picked a noble profession, and that being policing is a great job. It's a great career, and that we've been here before. 2016 was similar to this. There was a lot of negativity about police, so we just have to keep the officers engaged, hold them accountable, seek improvement where we can, but it's going all right.
And we just saw an ambush of Los Angeles County deputies just in their squad car. So when you hear the words defund the police, what goes through your mind after seeing an incident like this just in the last few days?
Well, yeah, that's disturbing to see those see those images. I would sure, concur with, Sheriff Thompson and Chief Fitzgerald from Waterloo. Really, it should be about getting the funding where you need it and getting the funding to the training the officers do need. So I don't believe in defunding the police, but I also believe in being efficient with tax dollars and make sure the money's going where we need it and for the right causes. So.
And we saw what happened in Minneapolis with George Floyd and other incidents. So do you tell your officers, hey, there's a very good chance you're going to be recorded by someone in addition to having your body camera? So what kind of conversations are you having with your officers these days in this kind of climate?
Well, we've had those conversations really for a long time. And when I got hired in 1991 was when the Rodney King incident happened in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so, car cameras came along after that. Body cameras have come along. They continue to make improvements. So the officers know that, the expectation is that really you're going to be filmed by multiple people. They're always going to be looking for the worst side of law enforcement. So the officers know that, but we do reiterate, we talk about it. So.
What kind of policy does the Cedar Falls Police Department when it comes to using deadly force? What do you tell your officers about maybe using that taser first, or what's on your mind when you tell the officers that this could be a life or death situation? Your life, as well as other people's, can change in an instant.
Well, that's a tough topic, and it takes a long time, a long discussion and training on that, but really it's about using the minimum force necessary to control somebody or take care of the act. So it's always, using the minimum force necessary.
Chief, the Cedar Falls Police Department has the implicit bias training long before the George Floyd incident. So how did that come about, and why did you go forward with that even before it was a rather hot topic,
Well, we really in 2017 and 18, we saw some training that the Des Moines Police Department had done in the Des Moines Register. I talked with Chief Wingert in Des Moines, and really it was premier training through Drake University. We partner with them, and so it's a 3-part training on implicit bias. And you're right, it was before there was ever a George Floyd death in Minneapolis. And so we did that training throughout 2019. We're going to finish it here in the fall of 2020 in October. And it was great training. It was a real eye-opener for our officers. It was also expensive training. We spent half of our 2019 training budget on that. So the timing was great, though, because now, diversity training, implicit bias training, now there's all kinds of vendors out there, and it's tough to get the training. So we'll be, in October, we end that training with Drake, and it was great.
You told me the goal really is to have a diverse Cedar Falls Police Department, and mention also, because you've had a lot of women in this department for a long time, yeah.
Yes, we've had, in my 3 decades, we probably had the highest percentage of female officers for the department of anybody in Iowa. We continue that. It's always hovered around 20 to 25% of the department, and a good goal would be half the department. So, our recruiting, anytime we can recruit, we want as much diversity as we can. Gender diversity is also very important.
One thing you mentioned to me is being chief is a pretty enjoyable position because you do have such great support across the community. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be the police chief in Cedar Falls. I think the community support here is great. I would say that for my 3 decades of experience of working events, or whether you're, walking the bars, or you're working Sturgis Falls, or if you're off duty and you go to a hardware store or something, it's just kind words from all kinds of people and talking to you about their concerns. So it's just a tremendous amount of community support for myself and for all our officers.
Thanks to Chief Berte for taking time for today's program. Coming up next year on the Steel Report, the annual Diversity Book Read is perhaps more timely now than ever before. And beginning October 1st, the entire community, that's right, you're being asked to take part in a new anti-racism effort locally by reading a book. That is coming up next.